All right, video try number 2 here, and on this car is my 2023 Volkswagen Atlas. Has about 75,000 miles on it. We're gonna be changing the rotors on this bad boy. If you know anything about this car, they are phenomenal cars. Basically, it's an amazing drive. I would recommend it to anybody. We've driven this car from New York to Nashville and only had to fill up one time. But the tragic flaw of these damn cars is that their brake rotor combination is horrible. They work fine, but they sound like they're grinding out. So done some looking online, and they've just said basically replace the rotors, replace the disc, the brakes, and I've already replaced the discs and didn't go away. So it is time for the rotors. So with that, I will show you what tools I'm gonna at the end I've used for this thing, but I've got the other ones already out because I've already done the other side. So I know what I'm doing, I hope. And we'll get to it. The first thing I'm gonna do is jack the damn thing up. All right, so I'm sure this car comes with a jack someplace, but I'm a little 1-ton jack here. Anyway, what you want to do is line this up with this part here. I'm sure you can see that part of the frame has a little bit of jog here, and that's the part you want to line this up. Get that underneath there, and slowly start to jack it up. Make sure it's completely under there. Making sure it's in the middle. Sorry about that. Hand jacking around. This thing is going to go up pretty high for this car because of the massive wheels it has on it. So once it's up, it's going to be at a pretty high height. And so the jack does have wheels. I'm going to put it parallel with the car just in case it slides at all. And here we go. Spare you the details. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the jack is now up, and as you can tell, we are off the ground. Something to know about these cars, though, is that they have these little caps here, and they're really just decorative. So before you start taking the wheel off, you gotta just pull these things out of here. You shouldn't, of course, that one's a little harder than the others, but you just pull them out easily. They are just covers. Put them back in later. I'm sure they protect the hub, the nuts a little bit, but that's it. They go in, they go out. No big deal. Once they're out, I'll be able to knock these puppies out of here real quick. So again, I'll be back. All right, they are out, and just a little bit of wiggling. Tire comes loose pretty easily after that. So I'm just gonna lay this over here. Again, I'm one-handing everything. And here we are. You got your brake caliper, the holder there, whatever they like all that. And this is what we're moving the rotor. So with that, we're gonna go in the back. First thing to do is to locate these two nuts. This one here, and there's the equivalent one down here. These two nuts are the first ones that you have to take off. And to take it off, you're going to need, let me see here, what did I put on there? A 13, and the 13 will crack these off. Now, once you start loosening them, they may spin. You may have to put a wrench right here on this part to stop it from spinning completely, just to stop it from spinning by itself. So if you keep on cranking this off and it's just not coming out, you gotta put a wrench right here to stop it from spinning. So with that, I will move on. And here's a good illustration of how that works, because it did exactly like I said I was gonna do. You start cranking here, the whole thing starts to spin. I'm doing this with one hand, so I'm pressing it against there, but you can see it stops it right here. That wrench will stop it from spinning, so I can at least untighten this thing. Of note, by the way, is that of these two bolts, they are different, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the top one has this bushing here on top of it. So remember, that goes on the top, where the lower one does not. So let's see here, I can find it right there, that does not have the same bolt on it. So remember which one's the top, which one's the bottom, and they come off pretty easily. So here's the two bolts off. Again, stressing that there are two different sizes here, two different types. That's the top. This one would be the bottom. They're the same screwing in. This one obviously is the top. I'm not sure what that does. I'm sure Volkswagen can tell you. And the wrench you would need to do that, hold it tight, is an 18. So that's the other tool you'd need. Oh, and the let's see, the socket for this one was, I think I already said it, but it's a 13. So those two tools just to get the caliper off. With that, just start shaking, pull this puppy back, and it will release itself. So important to know though, I'm going to be using some zip ties. Hold the caliper up here. You do not want to just let this thing fall down. It's going to stretch everything out. But once you get this caliper off, take the brake pad off, and then we'll start with the bracket here. I'm sure someone will correct me as to what exactly that name is, but as a backyard mechanic, I'm not worried about it right now. Anyway, jiggle this off, tie it up tightly, and then we'll go from there. Also, a little side note here, anybody doesn't believe that these cars are the exact same thing as the Audi. You see here the parts here, Volkswagen. Parts here, Audi. Yep, so there we are, next step accomplished. Just a couple of zip ties holding that up, keeping all the pressure off it, which then frees up everything else to not be any stress on the brake lines or anything else. With that, we're gonna take off the pads. Now, these pads are actually relatively new because we tried to fix this problem of this absolute horrible grinding with brake pads, and it didn't do the job. So next thing is taking off the bracket here. Now to take this off on the inside, I'll show you here. There are two larger bolts, a little bit harder to get at. Let's see if I can get them in frame there. One's here, and the other one is simply down there. Now those are the two bolts you got to take off. To do that, so I don't know if it's in focus very well. Here and here. So once you get that going, that's the next move. To do that, I am using a 21. To do that, I'm using a 21 to do it. So get at it. So now just turn the wheel a little bit, just to kind of show you a little bit better what we're looking at. Again, caliper, holder, brake. That's the bolt we're taking off next. These two, and that will release this whole bracket on the front, giving us access to the actual caliper. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, these do not like to come off very easily. Now, I did have a braking bar on it, pulled them off a little bit, didn't take too much muscle, but hey, it's a good thing. It's your brakes, they don't come off easy. So with that, just gotta finish doing this, and this whole bad boy's gonna come off. So that's the next step. Okay, so now the bolts are removed, both of them, and this thing just falls out. So I see the brake pad in there, and you take that out of there, and voila, more parts. Now I got the caliper, which I've got it turned on the car here. Next move is to take out that little bad boy there, which locks the whole rotor in there. So get to that next, and with that, I have my little trusty, which one is that? A T30. T30 is what you need for this one. And with one hand, I can do this one, thankfully, because it's not really hard to do. Nice and gently. Pulls it right out. And that's the last bit. Now, typically these won't come off very easily. You have to get a puller, give it a whack a few times. If you're gonna hit it at all, put something behind it so you're not smacking it, just a piece of wood or something. There's rotor pullers that are available for rent at AutoZone or any of those kind of places that can just pull the rotor off for you. These actually have not been on that long, and they look like that. I'm not sure the new one in comparison, but these rotors hopefully are the problem as to why these brakes sound so awful on a pretty new car. All right, I'm gonna get at that, and all right, it's been a couple, let's honestly give it like 2 whacks in the back. I did the piece of wood behind it just to make sure it didn't fall. Or sorry, I didn't dent it in case I couldn't get it off, but it is now off. I understand these things are not too heavy, but they're also not too light. So there we have it. That's your hub, all naked, and that's what we're replacing. So I will show what we're replacing it with, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we have the new rotors I got from CarQuest brand. Advanced Auto. They cost me about 105 bucks a piece, and I recommend putting on some gloves for this part because there's oils on the rotors that you don't want to, that keep it fresh. You don't want them all over yourself, you don't want anybody else, but just exact same thing, but show you the difference in the two once I get them out of here. These things are, hey, so even just looking at the inside here compared to what we had over here, basically the same thing. Obviously wear and tear does make a big difference pretty quickly. I'm not sure why these things grind so bad that they do, but hopefully these take care of the issue. It really is on Volkswagen and Audi to fix this brake issue. You can go online, there's all sorts of issues about it. There's never been a major recall. There should have been, because it's a pretty well-known issue. So I'm gonna pop this buddy back on there, line it up, get that little screw back in, and go from there. All right, so she's on. Now that's two hands, because that thing, again, the male going into the female, you gotta use both hands, press it up there, and then get it on there. Now, next thing to do is clean this thing. You can use any kind of brake cleaner. Just spray it on there, get all this old, breast oils and preservatives off of there. You don't want to keep it. Use a dust-free rag and do it, and that would be the next step. So I did look online a couple times just to make sure, and it says that's the thing. So be careful, don't spray that back here like I almost just did and get it on you. But you want to do the inside and the outside of these. Remove the oil. Doesn't need to be there. Once this thing starts going, it's going to get taken off pretty quickly. And you can see how easy that is. So once you get it all cleaned up, we'll start reverse engineering this thing. So it looks pretty good. So it's all cleaned up. Reverse engineering step one. Put these puppies back on there with the giant bolts. Again, to do that is the 21, and that's coming up. All right, so that's on. I got one brake pad in the back, front brake pad, just reversing engineering what you're doing before. Easy way to slide those in is to get them on the angle. See up there on the top? Get them on an angle, top and bottom at the same time, and then just kind of push them flat. And there's your brakes. Next up is the caliper, and I'll show you how the caliper might have gone down a little bit. You might have to squeeze that back to get it to fit back on these because the new rotor is going to be brand new, which will be slightly thicker than the old bad boys. If only just from regular wear and tear. So get the compressor, get that on there, and start sliding that on. All right, so to compress this, you've got to kind of press them evenly. The easiest way I found to do this is just getting one of these and literally kind of anything to put in there evenly. You put that in there against both of those pressures, then put on there, and it gets done that way. And you gotta look out for your attack cat. I got one of those attack cats. Anyway, I will do that in just a sec. Okay, set it up and then show you how it looks. So now I got the clamp on here, and they're a little bit uneven here, but you just keep pressing this up slowly. It will compress those two pistons, which will allow you to have enough room to put it back. So I will keep doing that, and I'll take it off and start putting it back on. All right, so I ended up using two clamps because it didn't want to go completely flat. Easy enough, it's just using one, having it uneven. But now that I've got them both flat, I can just release these, take them right off, and you can see the pistons are now completely flat with the outside and should go on really easily. So next move is to cut that, pop them back on here, put the bolts back in the back, and we're going to be in pretty good shape. Again, remember there are two bolts. The one with the bushing around it is the top one. So once we do that, then the lower one goes in and it's good to go. All right, so I've got one of them in there. Makes it a whole lot easier to get the second one because obviously now it's supporting itself. And simply just line that up there. Start screwing her in. Again, make sure it does that, and see the inside nut is again spinning a little bit. So I'll put the wrench on that, tighten it all up. And once it's tightened up, again, this one probably do the same thing at this point. No, this one's going pretty well. Put the old trusty 13 back on that one, just to see how she looks. Yeah, this one tightened right up. They don't always spin, so in good shape with that one. Again, tight, plus another quarter turn, and you're in pretty good shape. I will get that one tightened up, and we will get this tire back on. So, all right, got it all back together. Looks pretty good. Needs a brake cleaner to clean it up on the outside. It did, and it looks pretty darn new. And even though I have all this stuff here laying around, these are actually the only tools that I used to do this, which was the 18 open end wrench, 13 the smaller bolts. Back side of that was a 21. A couple of clamps just to get the brake caliper back. Sorry, the brake piston to flatten out for me. Knife just to have, and the T30. So if you're going to plan this, that's really all you need. You don't need a ton of tools to do this. I will get this tire back on here, and we will take it for a cruise. All right, so the wheel is back on there. Last thing to do, like I mentioned from the start, take these caps. I'm not going to go to the other side because I have a couple extra. Take them all and pop them back in here. Real simple to do, obviously. Just get them in there far enough that they're not coming out. Not sure what these are for. Someone could probably tell me. Probably just cosmetic, or just to stop people from quickly stealing your caps if they're doing something nefarious. So that's all that. And with that, the whole project is done. Pretty easy to do. Once you do it once, the first time seems a little daunting. Do it again. It becomes really simple. One thing I do as a note here, when working on the rotor, I did put the wheel out as such. That just makes it easier to reach the rotors once you have the car on the jack. Otherwise, it's it's either flat or sticking out a little bit. Having it sticking out a little bit gives you a little bit of access. Just make sure that the jack is all set, and that's it. So again, that's the Volkswagen Atlas. Great car. Really happy with it outside the brakes. There goes the Jeep, the 2012 Jeep. That's it. And someday I'll do something with that one. That's my 09 Mercedes CLK 350. Also a lot of fun to work on. Anyway, I'm not really good at videos, but I'm trying. Hope you like it. Thanks. Well, it is official. You have these brakes from these Atlases and Audis that just grind like crazy for no reason. They tell you at the shop that there's nothing wrong with them. Change the rotors. We just took it out, did about 30 miles on stopping and starting. It is smooth as butter now. And all we did was change the rotors, which really looked like they were in pretty decent shape. They're not that old. So 40,000 miles, I just turned them out because they just would not stop grinding, and Volkswagen refused to replace them. So if you're having the same problem, quick fix, cost me about $240 and some time. Well worth it. Car's like brand new again. Thanks for watching. So this is our 2009 Mercedes CLK that I bought a couple years ago. Got it for about $5,000. Following Dad's advice, if you want to get an old car, just get an old black Mercedes. Because no one really knows how old it is. And it's just been an awesome car, honestly. Probably my favorite car to drive right now. And it's in perfect condition. Only cost $5,000. Until this deer ran out and hit me in the middle of the night last night. And now I think it's freaking totaled. So, yeah. That'll be the third car that gets totaled from down here.